Hello and welcome to Pricing College with your hosts Joanna Wells
and Aidan Campbell. In today's episode, we want to ask, is the practice of 99 cents and magic pricing, is that old hat? Has it expired? Has it passed its use-by date? Is the world of pricing, when you're doing a pricing optimization, does it simply mean adding 99 cents down the list of all your SKUs? Or is that, have we moved beyond that?
I think to a large extent, people are much more aware of magic numbers. And, in itself, magic numbers, especially that odd 99, it's really appealing to our cognition. It's trying to bypass our human brains to trick us in some way to think that that number is smaller. But over time, when you're more familiar with these sort of techniques, your brain looks out for them. And when it becomes a matter for your conscious brain, you alert your logical brain, and then you're more likely to go, oh, this is a trick, and not buy. So I would say, Aidan, I think magic numbers could have an adverse effect now on some products and people's propensity to pay for something.
I'll be honest, I don't think I see 99 cents many places. Maybe I'm just not looking for it, but I don't see, when you go into a shop, a cafe, you ask for a coffee, very rarely will someone say, oh, that's $2.99. I personally think has expired to some extent. I think it's almost got a bad reputation, that people it might almost twig people that think they're being to some extent manipulated. But I think there are, Joanna, you've mentioned previously, there are other numbers, maybe more modern magic numbers that aren't on everyone's radar at the moment that still will be used in the pricing profession for really the same purpose.
Yeah, I think, even prices then have got, probably feedback by monitoring the data, the price and volume elasticities, that these magic numbers, 99 cents isn't working as well as it used to. So what you may see, and what's more common nowadays, is to add a new magic number at the end of 37. 37 or even like 39 happens to be prime numbers. Prime numbers are trick the brain to some degree. But it's the principle behind the 37 is very similar to the 99 principle. It's assuming that the brain is looking from right to left. It's only looking at the left number quickly to get a sense of anchoring of the magnitude of the size, and then quickly draws attention is drawn to the right, and the brain likes to sit there longer. And that 37 is supposed to have the same impact on bypassing our cognition as 99. 99, as I said before, isn't going to have the same impact as we're used to it. So what we're doing really in pricing then by using 37 is mixing it up so it has the same impact and bypassing our cognition.
Personally, for me, I think 37, it's almost like the most random number you can think of. It's almost one of those things, if you ask a child to think of a number between 1 and 50, many will pick 37. It's seemingly random. What it also seems to do for me is that if you said a $4.99 or $5.99 to somebody, it's very clear to them that is not a number calculated based on a cost plus mechanism. And sometimes a number like 37 or a very random number like 457 or 442, it can almost insinuate that there's been a very complex cost plus mechanism going into the calculation of the price. And it almost tricks the customer into thinking that, maybe this is a highly complex calculation went into this price, and they're not trying to manipulate me. They're not trying to maximize revenue from me. So it's almost a reverse psychological trick. At least sometimes that's what I think.
Yeah, I think this is a good point. You've raised the topic of, an informed buyer that knows somewhat about pricing and psychological pricing. And then the comparison with that, which was in terms of the original psychological research, is the uninformed consumer who literally buys based on their predetermined pre-wiring their brain and how it's all set up. Because originally psychological pricing was invented to almost complement the blind spots that we have, and sort of bypass cognition or bypass our effective emotional responses or accentuate. And that's how psychological pricing, it influences us. So yes, we can be influenced by our logic brain. If the buyer is into cost plus and thinks that's a fair way to go about it, then having that, dissonant 37 at the end of the price point will be useful to bypass their logic brain, or make them think more logically and think it's right. Unlike the consumer, who would be thinking, won't be thinking that at all because they're uninformed. They'll just be thinking, the size of that, by putting that 37 at the end, the price seems smaller. I like that.
Another thing I often think about some of these prices ending 95s, 98s, 99s. If you are increasing prices, it gives you a real nice little opportunity just to round them up. If you're at 98 cents and you round it up to 90 or to a dollar, I don't think anyone's really going to notice. I don't think any customer's really going to complain too much. It's almost, we often talk about them psychologically rounding down. To some extent, maybe they've already psychologically rounded up. But if you increase prices from 98 up to a dollar flat, that is it's more than 2% increase, isn't it? My mathematics is poor, but it's more just over 2% increase, and so it's. It is 2% increase is often quite a lot if that's what you're aiming for in a price rise, but it's almost there's upsides to everything as well, and when people round it down, potentially in their mind somewhere they've also rounded it up.
Yeah, and if they've rounded it up, just be careful. They'll be going into, this is again an individual thing. This is called psychological reference price. Every buyer has that in their mind when they're looking at buying. They've got a price in mind that they're willing to pay, and above that, that's when they're unlikely to pay. Below that, they start thinking the price is too cheap. So if you round it up, you might be going into the buyer's psychology over their threshold, and then they'll just not buy. And this is important, even before we get into the psychological pricing, why you need to look at your price ranges, your price bandwidths. And this is what prices spend a lot of their time doing, because they optimize prices based on ranges. The psychological pricing techniques, they are really very much techniques, are the rounding of the end. It's the bit the last consideration of the price point at the end of a process. It's not the beginning of the process. So just bear that in mind. And when you do all of these things, also just remember, what products you're trying to sell, and use different tactics to suit. Odd works well for sort of everyday products, groceries, such like, and that whole number sort of works well for luxury pricing, luxury shoes, handbags, jewelry, for instance. So just be a bit mindful of what you're trying to do, and the techniques that you should use at certain points in time.
Yeah, that's it from me today. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks a lot.